Okay, welcome everyone to this Digital Frontiers webinar. We are going to talk about a case study of Bangladesh Bank. And I have today with my guests, my panelists, we're going to discuss an impact assessment that was done regarding capacity built within Bangladesh, specifically Bangladesh Bank, and the policy reforms that were enacted that Digital Frontiers alumni contributed to. So I'm very, very excited and very, very pleased to be able to have this discussion with my colleagues. So my name is Tariro Nyimo, and I am Head of Stakeholder Engagement and Fundraising at Digital Frontiers. I have with me our lead independent consultant who is part of this case study, Eden Emba. Eden, can you please introduce yourself? And then we'll move to the Bank of Bangladesh team.
Thank you, Tariro. Thank you, Tariro, and welcome everyone to this webinar. I am Eden Dema. I'm the lead author of the Bangladesh Bank Impact Assessment Case Study. I was a former central banker working in the Central Bank of Bhutan, and I have played a key role in developing an inclusive financial sector in Bhutan, primarily in terms of establishing credit infrastructure like the Credit Information Bureau, the Collateral Registry, and the Financial Institution Training Institute, and the Financial Intelligence Unit of Bhutan. Since 2016, I've worked as a financial inclusion policy, gender, and regulatory consultant with several institutions and central banks in contributing towards their financial inclusion initiatives. I have also authored several key products on key financial inclusion topics and have been a panelist in several regional and global forums. So that's it from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eden. And now I'll hand over to Mohammed Rashid and Mohammed Ashraful Alam to introduce themselves very briefly so that we can get into the discussion. Mohammed Rashid.
Thanks, Tariro, for inviting me in the webinar. I also like to express my gratitude to the Digital Frontiers Institute and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the scholarship program and general support to Bangladesh Bank officials for capacity building in last few years. I am in the Central Bank of Bangladesh since 2016. Now I am additional director in the Foreign Exchange Operation Department. I am the facilitator of the community of practice in Dhaka and also the founder and president of the Digital Frontiers Institute Alumni Network in Bangladesh, named Digital Finance Forum Bangladesh. And I am lucky that I was the second batch student of the certificate in digital money back in 2016 of the Digital Frontiers Institute. And I am also lucky that I played the central role for initiating the scholarship program for my colleagues to participate online courses of the Digital Frontiers Institute. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. Ashraful?
Good evening from Dhaka. Hello, this is Ashraful Alam. I'm the Managing Director of the Security Banking Corporation Bangladesh. This is part of our payment system, payment ecosystem. Basically, right now I print money. Apart from that, I have been in the central banking for last around 27 years. Of these, I have served the UN Capital Development Fund as country program coordinator for 4 years. And also I served in the SME Foundation, which is the Apex SME Development Agency in Bangladesh for 2 years. And I have been involved with the Alliance for Financial Inclusion as one of its working group chair and co-chair for 2 terms for the SME Finance Working Group. And also I am the CDFP of Digital Frontiers Institute, as well as I am the Fletcher Leadership Program on Financial Inclusion Fellow. So, and I have been involved in the financial inclusion, SME financing areas for more than 10 years. This is, in short, my experience in financial inclusion and digital financial services area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashraf. I think it's important to note that we are all certified digital finance practitioners on the panelists, and this is the flagship program for Digital Frontiers Institute, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and certified by the Fletcher School at Tufts University. So the story of Bangladesh and Digital Frontiers is that there was a scholarship opportunity, which Rashid mentioned in his introduction, that was availed to Bangladesh, including a different ministry, different divisions, and the Bank of Bangladesh in that country. But Bangladesh itself has the highest number of certified digital finance practitioners. We have trained over 600, I think 700 individuals within the bank. So there's a lot of capacity that has been built across our programs. But I think today there will be a significant focus on the Certified Digital Finance Practitioner program, as it is aligned with financial inclusion, which are some of the policy initiatives we want to discuss. It is important to note that the policy interventions and regulations or regulatory reforms in the study are only those introduced by DFI alumni, so at the Bank of Bangladesh, and so not exhaustive. I think that shows the scope of our discussion today. It's not going to be as exhaustive, and we're not going to touch everything. The first part of our webinar, we're going to have Eden as the lead consultant who did this case study as part of our impact evaluation that was concluded for 2023, between 2016 and 2023. She's going to share some of the findings, and then we'll get into a discussion, and then we would like to interact with our audience and get a question and answer session, and then we'll conclude. So now I'm going to hand over to Eden. We'll give her about 5 to 7 minutes to do her presentation, and then we get into the discussion. Eden.
Thank you, Tariro. So without much ado, I'll start with my presentation.
I think it's important to note that as part of the methodology, it was a qualitative approach that involved interviews of many stakeholders within the bank, included the key interviews from Rashid and Ashrafil. And then we also had a desk review of documents, policy documents written by external views, statistical data.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry for that. So thank you so much. I have this very short presentation focusing on the key takeaways from the impact assessment case study. Basically, I'll be talking on the impact of financial inclusion policy initiatives by Bangladesh Bank through the DFI alums. So the flow of my presentation, I'll start with a very short introduction followed by the methodology, and touch briefly on the impact areas, and conclude with conclusions and recommendations. So basically, the objective of the case study is to evaluate the impact of Digital Frontiers Institute capacity building programs on Bangladesh Bank's officials' policymaking skills, translating to inclusive policy and regulatory initiatives to promote digital financial inclusion in Bangladesh. In developing the case study, we analyzed the policy interventions, the regulatory reforms, and the market dynamics, basically to identify what are the tangible contributions that has been made by Bangladesh Bank through its DFI alums in promoting an inclusive digital financial services ecosystem in Bangladesh. So as already been mentioned by Tariro, the policy interventions and the regulatory reforms showcased in this case study are only those introduced through the DFI alums. In terms of methodology, for this case study, we used a mixed method approach combining quantitative and qualitative data. Firstly, the DFI alums in Bangladesh Bank, they came together and explored their contributions to the policy and regulatory reforms. Thereafter, a detailed desk research was conducted by an independent consultant, that's me, and supplemented by interviews to address the gaps. And then we analyzed the information and the data to showcase the impact of the policy initiatives. So here are the 5 impact areas, the first being the cottage, micro, small, medium enterprise financing policy reforms. The next being the inclusive payment system policy reforms. The third being the banking regulation and policy reforms. The fourth being the AML, CFT regulations and policy reforms. And the last being the impact on the officials of the Financial Inclusion Department and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy Administrative Unit of the Bangladesh Bank. So in terms of the financing, CMSME financing policy reforms, the study finds that the policy interventions through the alums have significantly improved CMSME's access to finance through initiatives such as introduction of alternative financing options, such as supply chain financing, factoring, digital credit scoring, and mobile-based lending. It also dwells on the credit guarantee schemes and other such refinancing schemes introduced by the Bangladesh Bank. The study also further notes the importance of Bangladesh Bank's standard reporting framework, which has enabled greater transparency and accountability in CMSME financing, basically leading to increased trust between the lenders and the borrowers. Coming to the inclusive payment system policy reforms, the study found that the policy interventions, particularly in payment systems such as interoperability between mobile financial services providers, introduction of digital payment gateways and QR code payments, promoting merchant acceptance of digital payments has enabled greater adoption of digital financial services in Bangladesh, as well as enhance the consumer protection in digital financial services. And overall, these initiatives have particularly improved the financial inclusion, particularly among women, youth, and those living in the rural areas. So just to give a highlight on the impact of the CMSME policy initiatives, as we see, it has proved effective, as we can see from this figure. we can see that as of 31st March 2023, around 289,033 CMSMEs availed loans amounting to Bangladesh taka 49,068 crores, equivalent to USD 4.4 billion. In terms of total loan dispersed to CMSMEs without collateral, it amounted to Bangladesh taka 8,162 crores, which I personally felt was commendable because of the fact that lack of collateral is one of the critical challenges for CMSMEs in Bangladesh to access formal finance, and more critical for women-owned and led enterprises. The other impact areas have been seen in the banking regulation and policy reforms, and in the anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism regulations and policy reforms. In terms of banking regulation and policy reforms, we have the study found that there is policy initiatives have been introduced in terms of introducing a refinancing scheme for digital nano loans, and also introduction of licensing of digital banks. Now, these reforms have provided a conducive environment for fintechs and financial institutions in Bangladesh to innovate and serve the financially excluded population of Bangladesh, particularly through DFS. Not only that, this case study also found that policy interventions in promoting financial and digital literacy and consumer protection has enabled greater trust and confidence in digital financial services, again, particularly among women and low-income population. On the AML safety regulations and policy reforms, I would like to basically focus on the eKYC guidelines. The eKYC guidelines, the impact of the eKYC guidelines, as one can see from the figure shown here. Basically, the eKYC guidelines, it provided different customer onboarding models for different kinds of clients. It included fingerprint and face matching, biometric verification and authentication. And also these eKYC guidelines were introduced by the Bangladesh FIU, and it has to a large extent catalyzed customer onboarding in Bangladesh. How? By making it more time efficient. The eKYC enabled customers, provided customers with time efficient onboarding facilities in terms of, to compare to the previous conventional ones from 4 to 5 days, it took only 5 to 6 minutes. In terms of cost effectiveness, it reduced the cost associated with customer onboarding almost by 5 to 10 times. The other thing is this particular eKYC guidelines also is very much aligned with Bangladesh Vision 2021 to provide financial services at citizens' doorsteps in an easy, faster, and low-cost manner. In terms of data, as of June 2023, 61 banks and NBFIs have fully or partially implemented eKYC, while 30 are in the process of implementing it. Now, if we look at the accounts opened through eKYC, 153.29 million accounts, of which 42% are female-owned, were opened by financial services providers. And in terms of lead, the mobile financial services led with 97%, and the remaining 3% were done by the banks and the financial institution put together. Therefore, the bottom line being that the introduction of eKYC is seen as a significant milestone in advancing financial inclusion for Bangladesh. The last impact area, the study also looked at the enhanced skills and knowledge in terms of developing policy initiatives. So in that area, particularly the Financial Institution Department and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy Administrative Unit of the Bangladesh Bank, where the DFI program had a positive impact, particularly in 4 areas: in terms of policy influence, in terms of enhanced knowledge and skills, better understanding of the financial inclusion, inclusive payment systems, and also in terms of advancing digital financial inclusion. The third one being a practical application of the skills and the knowledge gained from a few courses, particularly the MSME finance. The other one, empowering research, particularly the certified digital finance practitioner program. It upskilled the research and research skills of the alums in terms of driving, developing, and contributing towards financial inclusion policy reforms in Bangladesh. So to conclude, I have 2 key impacts. Number one, overall, the study has concluded that the digital financial inclusion policy initiatives that has been introduced by the Bangladesh Bank through DFI alumni have had a positive impact on promoting financial inclusion in the country. And not only that, the policy initiatives have contributed and will contribute to Bangladesh transition towards becoming a smart Bangladesh by 2041. In terms of recommendation, the study recommends that the bank and other policymakers should continue prioritization of digital financial inclusion policies to reach formal financial inclusion to the last mile in terms of supporting sustainable and inclusive economic growth in Bangladesh. And not only that, to meet the evolving requirements, HR capacity building needs of Bangladeshi policymakers, there should be cooperation and coordination between Digital Frontiers Institute and the Bangladesh Bank and other financial regulators to come up with customized training programs for the Bangladeshi policymakers. So that's it. Thank you so much. And I apologize for taking a bit longer time for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eden, for sharing those findings with us on the policy initiatives that we focused on, or that the case study focused on, starting with CMSME financing, that's cottage micro to medium enterprises financing, as well as inclusive payments policy reforms, banking regulation reforms, and AML reforms. Now I'm going to move this into a discussion so that we process exactly what we're talking about and our audience gets to understand why we think that there's been some impactful policies that DFI alumni have contributed to that has seen some improvement in financial inclusion in Bangladesh. So I think we all know about women's financial inclusion in Bangladesh. It's a key area. And I think if we're looking at Findex data and using grid impact segmentation, it says that a lot of women have moved from segment 1, which is excluded and not served, to segment 3, which is included but underserved. So we're saying women in Bangladesh have seen an improvement, but there's still an underserved issue there. So I'm going to ask Ashrafil, to tell us about these CMSEs and what it means. That's CMSME. Sorry about that. I keep messing up that acronym. And give us that context and how the policy was introduced and how impactful it is. And even share with us how DFI alumni worked on it. So I'm going to start with Ashraf. I hope your audio is fine. And Rashid, you'll be ready to give an additional context to my question. Ashraf, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Tariro. This is basically a webinar on the impact of the training imparted by DFI to the Bangladesh Bank officials on the policies of Bangladesh Bank, which Bangladesh Bank has formulated, and what impact it has brought in the real field to the entrepreneurs, to the payment system, to the CMSME finance, access to finance, and also overall banking, digital financial services ecosystem. So the question that what kind of impact or what kind of changes it has brought in the CMSME ecosystem, financing, access to finance ecosystem, I would say that first of all, the contribution of, let me go this way, that I will focus on the contribution of the DFI alumni in the formulation of policies and regulations for improving the access to finance for CMSMEs in Bangladesh. And later, and the second part, I will be talking about the impact of this policy intervention, which has been crafted by the DFI alumni. What is the impact on the access to finance ecosystem for the CMSME? So back in 2015, so far I remember, I think Rashid and myself was the first participants in the DFI course back in 2015. I remember in the second offering of CDM, the CDM digital money on the digital money course. So at that time, I was in the SME department. And also I worked in the financial inclusion department. So during that period, basically, CMSME related lot of policy reforms has been done. And I was a part of the CMSME policy reform in the SME and Special Programs Department. So that policy, I mean, that policy, I would say prior to that, it started back in 2010, and gradually in 2015, it came up with a specific target for the women entrepreneurs. So later on, other policies like refinance scheme and women entrepreneur development unit, then also the agent banking regulation, and later on the risk fund, facility, that what is right now we call it credit guarantee department, which has converted into credit guarantee department. All these initiatives was initiated by either there were one or more DFI alumni in the formulation of all these policies. Currently, I can say that currently one of the CDFP is heading the credit guarantee department. So one of our DFI alumni is heading the department. And prior to that, also there were other CDFPs and also DFI alumni who was part of the credit guarantee department. Also, there were many DFI alumni in the SME department who was part of the SME policy reforms. So all these, I mean, in the policy reforms around the CMSME ecosystem was, I would say, that heavily contributed by the DFI alumni. And because of that, in the study presentation by Eden, we have seen that the changes that has been brought into the CMSME ecosystem in terms of number of entrepreneurs funded and amount of loans disbursed, and then also collateral free disbursement. And the credit guarantee scheme is one of the reason that collateral free disbursement has been increased, because earlier, even if there were refinance scheme, but women were not not able to offer collateral and they were left out. But once these credit guarantee scheme was introduced, women were now they were able to apply for the loan, and they were successful in receiving loans from through the participating financial institution of the credit guarantee scheme. So that way, I would say that DFI offered scholarship, and the Bangladesh Bank officials' participation in the course greatly equipped the alumni with the latest and innovative knowledge and tools to formulate policies and regulations, and also establishing an ecosystem that were conducive for the CMSMEs to come forward, and also that the policies were conducive for the commercial banks to come forward and finance the entrepreneurs in a big way. So I would stop here for now. Maybe in the later stage I will elaborate if I get another chance. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ashraf. I think that
I
was
want to
quite
add.
a story. And I really
Yeah.
would like,
Yeah,
yes,
I will
go
especially
ahead,
mention
Rashid.
the one of the policy or new act, Secure Transaction Movable Collateral Act 2023. One of our CDFP, Shoili Aptin, is present here. She was a key person in that act, and that also helped for access to finance for CMSME. And another is the refinance scheme, which we have talked earlier, for digital credit, small credit, and those small refinance scheme introduced for a mobile financial customer or services customer and other digital platform user customers. So it will be great for the customer, and the interest rate, annual interest rate, is only 9%. So any customer of those unbanked but use of digital platform or digital financial service, they currently can avail low cost fund from low cost credit from the Bangladesh Bank Refinance through the partnership with the commercial bank. So that also, I think it's a learning for many other countries, developing countries, where digital credit is interest rate is so high, and we have heard loan shark and other predatory lending, many other things we have heard in the last few years. But Bangladesh have introduced this scheme only 9% interest rate, and that's also is a greatly contributing for financial inclusion in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Okay, Rashid, I think you are having a bit of a connection issue. But
So
thank you for
should I
weighing in
tell
there.
again? Should I?
No, I think we can. No, I think we can move on with the conversation. That's fine,
Okay.
Rashid. I hope we'll be much better going forward. I wanted to ask about the evolution of payment systems. So now I need you to paint a picture for us on what has happened in terms of, you talked about digital lending, nano loans, just inclusive payment systems, and how possibly the courses that you were taking up, or that other DFI alumni were taking up, contributed to this evolution or the policy reforms to do with payment systems?
Thank you, Tariyo. So the digitization of the payment system in Bangladesh started back in the last decade. So we have seen lots of platforms and built. The Bangladesh automated check clearing system was established in 2010, and in electronic payment transfer network established in 2011, national payments switch in 2012, and RTGS real-time gross settlement in 2015. For payment services, the mobile financial services is the most popular in Bangladesh, and the largest market globally. It started back in 2011, and currently there is about 222 million customer of the mobile financial service in Bangladesh, and 38% of them are active customers, and we see a daily average number of transactions is 20 million. That's a huge number. And for other payment service provider or payment service operator and payment service provider, there is 18 service provider, but their market share is not so much till now. And in terms of payment system department and other department related with the payment service, we've seen that lots of our CDFP and alumni are all departments and divisions. They are playing key roles in those areas, to be specific about their contribution in the payment service policy and guidelines. We have seen that back in 2020 and 2021, we have seen some scams in the e-commerce in Bangladesh, some Ponzi schemes. In response to those incidents, government and Bangladesh Bank has taken some initiative and policy reforms, and Bangladesh Bank issued the guidelines for merchant acquiring and escrow services in 2023. And I am saying the policies which directly contributed by our fellows only. These escrow account guidelines, merchant acquiring and account guidelines developed by our fellows, and another one is the guidelines for courier service handling cash transaction via banking channels received from parcel delivery 2000, that is in 2021. So separate guidelines for courier service. And also the guidelines for trust. Then another is that any payment service provider, PSO, PSP, or MFS, they need to maintain trust cum settlement account. So we have developed a separate guidelines for trust fund management in payment and settlement services in 2021. And another key policy documents is the approval procedure for PSO and PSP. It was issued in 2019. So all these policies is our fellows played the central role. Another another act is going to be formulated very soon, Digital Commerce Act. In that act draft, the committee members and also reviewer, our fellow also working in that field, also in that committee and act also. So they are working in these areas, and also we are seeing that their contribution is significant, and also their understanding and understanding giving them the leading role to play in this field. Tariro, thank you.
Thank you, Rashid. I think with all these reforms, payment systems getting more complicated, and you touched on it, Rashid, I think consumer protection becomes a big thing. Yeah. And also just literacy. I mean, if for those distribution of CMSME loans, those are possibly new participants to a formal financial system. So, and I'm going to ask Ashraful to comment on this. What can you say about consumer protection to the everyday woman or the everyday person in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, and how they're feeling about the financial services, and possibly what else they are asking for from the financial system. Ashraful?
Thank you, Thariro, for this question. So basically, it is very critical. Consumer protection in the wake of enhanced financial inclusion, where basically lot of underliterate financial customers enter into the financial ecosystem, and many of them are not fully aware of their rights and their responsibilities, and where they can basically receive feedback, or where they can get their complaint to register, and all these things. So that in that event, in the event of the surge in the financial inclusion, I would say that's the surge in Bangladesh. If you can see, starting from 2014 to in the Findex, you will see that a big push has been achieved in the field of financial inclusion. And in terms of customer quality, many of the customers are rural customers, women customers, and they are under I would say that they are not adequately literate in terms of financial literacy. And in this scenario, the role of customer protection is much more important for a market. So to address this issue, basically Bangladesh Bank has taken several, I would say several initiatives. One of the initiative is establishing the financial integrity and customer protection department. There is a separate department where it has several way of reaching out to the central bank people to laws compliance against any frauds, any mishandling of customer by the financial service providers. So like there is a dedicated helpline, there is a direct telephone number, mobile phone numbers, email address. So people can reach out to the FICSD, in short, Financial Integrity and Customer Services Department. So they basically, once they receive those compliance and news of frauds, so they intervene into the market. They basically check with the financial service provider, and also these are not within their purview, they basically forward it to the right department of the central bank to look into it. So that way, basically, Bangladesh Bank opened the door of Bangladesh Bank, where the customers can come and open up their minds regarding any frauds or any kind of complaint they have. So this is one way that customer services or the consumer protection is there. And also, while providing licenses to the mobile financial services provider, MFS licenses, or the agent banking licenses or guidelines. So in all these guidelines, customer protection measures are integrated. So whenever someone is offering agent banking services to the customer, so agent banking and mobile financial services are two groundbreaking initiatives by Bangladesh Bank, which has helped Bangladesh Bank to, to jump in the financial inclusion index. So that way, in each guidelines, the agent banking guidelines, as well as in the revised mobile financial services guidelines, and also in the report, you might have seen that Rashid in the BFIU. Financial intelligence unit, there has been another guideline, write-up, sort of write-up that has become a guideline later on. So in all these documents, the customer protection issue is integrated. Like what action a financial services provider must take when a customer loses a complaint, in how many days they need to solve it. So that way, basically, and also in terms of Bangladesh Bank maintains Facebook page where people can also lodge complaint and they can put their opinion in terms of customer protection issues and others. So that way, basically, customer protection issue has been taken care of by the central bank. And in all this, like Rashid was involved in the BFIU while he was BFIU, and while I was in the desk level, I was responsible for drafting the agent banking guideline, as well as the later on I also drafted the preliminary concept note for the credit guarantee scheme. And later on, while I was in the UNCDF, I supported the Bangladesh Bank to establish the credit guarantee scheme. And also in the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, as a DFI alumni, initially I was one of the member of the drafting committee. And later on, while I was in the UNCDF, I basically provided technical support in shaping up the final format of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy that is currently in action. So that way, and financial inclusion strategy basically is a umbrella policy that covers all these customer protection, CMSME, digital banking, nano, all these things. So that way, Rashid and other, we were in the initial stage, and right now the young minds who are also DFI alumni, like as I said, that one of our alumni is the director of the credit guarantee department right now, and many of our young minds are basically driving towards the digital or smart Bangladesh changes, which basically encompass digital banking as well. So that way, I would say that the DFI alumni are in the forefront of driving changes in the digital financial services space in Bangladesh Bank. Not only in Bangladesh Bank, you can see that many of our members are committee members of the at national level. So that way, we are not only basically shaping up the policy reforms in Bangladesh Bank, we are also influencing the national level policy making of Bangladesh in the DFS ecosystem. So I would stop here. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ashraful. And I think, Rashid, I'll ask you to comment. I think there's some questions that have come from our participants, and there's so much that Ashraful has mentioned that I also want to get into. But I'll start with agency banking or agent banking. And I think Abibal from Ethiopia was looking to get some insights into if you have a platform for this and what sort of advice you'd give them or who are setting up this agent banking platform in Ethiopia. From your experience, what can they use? So Rashid, I would like you to touch on that. Eden, I want you to prepare to talk about the National Financial Inclusion policy and how that has an impact on policy reforms and financial inclusion, especially for women. And yeah, and then I'll ask another question from Emmanuel Piri afterwards. So we can start with Rashid and agent banking platform.
Yes, thank you. We see a question from Ethiopia about the shared platform for agency banking. Actually, right this moment, the agency banking have no such a shared platform. Any banks deploy their agents, and their the agent outlet is directly connected with the banks core banking software. And they are dedicated. That's mean they are exclusive. Any agent cannot share more than one bank in agency banking guidelines. In MFS, they can serve in any mobile financial service provider, but in agency banking, they are dedicated. So that's my response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rashid. And Emmanuel asked,
Tariro, I would like to add 2 points here. So basically, in Bangladesh, the agent banking is not a platform. It is exclusive agents of individual bank. So one person cannot be agent of several banks, or there is no central platform where where all agents are operating. So it is a separate system from the questions that has been posed in the comment box.
all right, thank you, Ashraful. So each bank has their own agent management system. Isn't like a one platform, which is normally the standard way. Okay, so I think Albert, you can put a comment on that and share your ideas of a central platform for agency banking for Ethiopia. That's interesting. And then a question from Emmanuel. What are it's a good one on the impact of youth, because we've been talking about women, CMSMEs, and what about youth, Rashid and Ashraful?
I think Ashraful Alam can respond in this question better than me.
So thank you, Tariro. Youth financial inclusion is very important because youths are the future of a nation, of also the future of the world. So Bangladesh Bank also have several initiative in terms of bringing the youth under the financial ecosystem. That way, Bangladesh Bank has a separate refinance scheme for young entrepreneurs. So they can reach out to central bank refinance scheme through the commercial banks and access those funds in terms of access to lending. In terms of access to savings, Bangladesh Bank has a scheme that is school banking. It's a big initiative of Bangladesh Bank. So school banking, through school banking, school going kids and also college, university students are allowed to open bank accounts. Without with many I would say many soft requirement that they require. So that way, basically, Bangladesh Bank and also the government of Bangladesh puts emphasis on including the youth in the financial ecosystem. Also, as you know, that this is the time. This is the era of startup era. It has become I would say that it has become a trend that young people are not interested in jobs that much right now. They are more interested in starting their own venture, starting their own startup. That way, basically, there has been a startup funding company established by the government of Bangladesh, and they also connect with the central bank as well as in the commercial bank, and connect those aspiring entrepreneurs with the banks and the central bank refinance scheme. That way, there is a separate ecosystem for youth financial inclusion in the Bangladesh financial ecosystem. So that's from me. Rashid can add if you want, Rashid.
Bangladesh, I also add that Bangladesh Bank also introduced a refinance scheme for startups. And that is, I think, I am not sure whether there is a startup refinance scheme is available for in other countries, because startup investment is another side. But as a central bank or commercial bank, they can give loan, and that's our capacity. That's our product, commercial bank's product. So Bangladesh Bank introduced 5,000 crore, 500 crore taka refinance scheme for a startup, and this getting traction, and we are also trying to encourage banks to go to the startup and finance them, so that young entrepreneur can get fund and can start their business. Also, there is some refinance scheme already for CMSME. There new young people also try to launch their new businesses. So whether you are trying to establish a CMSME or a startup, there is support available for from Bangladesh Bank, and also through the commercial banks. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to jump to a question by Karen here, and it's about collaboration. You know, we talked about contributing to national strategies and Smart Bangladesh by 2041 and the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. In your experience, both of you, Ashraful and Rashid, when we are contributing to policy, or we are drafting these policies that have an impact on the population, how has it been, your collaboration experience, and are there any gaps that if there was better or more cohesive way of doing things, that it would improve the economic situation or socioeconomic situation in Bangladesh? I can start with Ashraful. Can you comment on that collaboration?
Yeah, thank you, Theriru. The question also it's a good question. As a regulator, so basically what we see that most of the time the fintech aspirants, basically I would say that fintech aspirants are concerned with their ideas only, or their business only, but they do not address our concern. As a regulator, we have some concern as well. So as an individual fintech entrepreneur, I might be concerned about my profit or my establishment of my business, but as a regulator, regulators are concerned with the integrity and stability of the financial system. So while approaching the regulator, I would say if I place myself in the shoe of a fintech entrepreneurs aspirants, I would first try to understand the regulators' concern. What are the concern regulators are? What are the issues regulators are afraid of? Like why they are afraid of giving permission to a fintech aspirants license? What is their concern? Why they are hesitating? So I would try to understand their concern, and in my pitch I will basically address their concern as well. So once a entrepreneur come to me, and while he is of pitching his idea, and at the same time he is also pitching my concern, that how his intervention will address my concern as well. So that's basically a win-win proposition. When I see someone also addressing my concern, basically it is a win-win situation. That okay, this guy has a total idea. He is also concerned about my concern. So let's work with him. So that's in my understanding, that's one issue that will basically help the entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs who are going to work with the regulators or policymakers. Going back to your first issues, that how do we basically, I would say that participating in the DFI course also give us a wider perspective of policy formulation, right? So policy formulation give us wider perspective, as well as while we are doing these webinars as well as online meetings. So there is, I mean, a lot of interest groups are joining in those programs. And also we participate in national programs. We also receive feedback from there, feedback from those participants. So we integrate those feedbacks from the field, as well as not only in Bangladesh, in other economies as well. So we scheme those learnings, and we basically input it into our policy formulation process. So that way basically we try to bring the field observation, field demand into the policy formulation process.
I want to add, Tariro. As you know, we established the Digital Finance Forum Bangladesh, and in that forum there is not only the alumni but also the market people or the fintech and digital finance professional are here. So we organize many events, and it's related with the services, products, or regulation, or compliance, every issues. It's to bridge the gap between the market and the regulators. And whenever any service provider or any new provider, because when digital finance or fintech, and they are most of the times we see that not from the coming from the established companies but the new companies, they reach to our forum and to us, the alumni and the executives of the digital finance forum, and they consult with us how what will they do in that case. So we try to guide them, and sometimes we refer to concerned department of the central bank so that they can discuss their problem with that department, how they will do. So in that way we are guiding the market. And other thing is that many of our alumni and CDPs in the Bangladesh Bank Training Academy now. Just very recently, the Bangladesh Bank Training Academy organized training on digital banking, also in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Because the people, the alumni in that training academy, so they are more interested. They are to learn new things, and in that case, for machine learning or new things, we are not expert as central banker. We have to understand, learn things from the market. So we invited people from the fintech companies and other technology field, and they train our officials as well as the commercial bankers in our training academy about machine learning, artificial intelligence, crypto or blockchain or other technological and new services issues, and alternative credit scoring also in these issues. So in this way, actually, the learning of our digital finance or from digital frontiers help us to understand what going on in the market. At the same time, to understand the what people want to innovate in the market, and open-mindedly evaluate their proposals and guide them so that they can develop more compliant product as well as their business case also be good, so that they can also develop their product and also their services. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are over time. So I really want to thank my colleagues, Ashrafil Mohammed, Ashrafil Alam, our independent consultants. Thank you for the presentation. Eden, I was hoping to get a comment from you on national financial inclusion issues, but we've run out of time. I want to thank Mohammed Rashid. It's always great to have conversations with you. I think I have learned a lot about the policy reforms in Bangladesh and how DFI alumni are collaborating or making waves within Bangladesh Bank, participating in forums and collaborating for a national agenda. So I'm hoping to see more DFI alumni in positions in the country, moving towards financial inclusion, more inclusive policies, more inclusive digital economic policies, and just creating a better world for everyone, women and youth in the country. So thank you very much. I think we're going to close. We want to thank all those who participated, all those who joined, and have a great day. We'll meet in another forum. Thank you.